All right, let's dig into what is easily one of the biggest stories of our time, the AI boom. And it feels exactly like a modern day gold rush. We're talking massive opportunities, incredible hike, but also some pretty huge risks lurking just beneath the surface.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? Is this AI explosion a genuine tech revolution that's going to create real, lasting value? Or is it just a massive speculative frenzy, a bubble that's bound to pop? Well, let's try and figure that out.
Okay, so let's jump right in. And just like any old school gold rush, this one starts with the prospectors. We're talking about the everyday people, the individuals and small businesses out there trying to stake their claim on this brand new digital frontier.
And what's just wild is how accessible the tools are this time around. I mean, people are literally generating entire blog posts for businesses, creating and selling some truly incredible digital art. They're even launching whole YouTube channels where the scripts and the voiceovers are completely AI generated. From building websites to designing online courses, the barrier to entry it's never been this low. But look, this isn't just about a few freelancers making some extra cash. This wave of accessibility is actually fueling a whole new kind of company. People are calling it micro SaaS. That's software as a service. And these are basically tiny, sometimes even one-person businesses that are built to solve one very specific problem using an AI tool. And this is a perfect blueprint for how it works. Okay, so get this. Take something that sounds super simple, right? An AI-powered email signature generator. The target market is pretty niche. You've got your freelancers, your small businesses. The difficulty to actually build it, low. But the potential annual revenue, we're talking somewhere between $1 and $3 million. That's the new prospecting, right there. It's about finding that tiny overlooked vein of digital gold and building the perfect little tool to mine it. Right, now you've all heard the old saying, during a gold rush, don't dig for gold, sell shovels. Well, in the AI world, the folks selling the shovels are the open source developers. And it turns out they're facing a really serious dilemma. So these shovels we're talking about, they're the open source software libraries, the code that forms the backbone of pretty much every app we use today. It's code that anyone can see, anyone can tweak, and anyone can build on top of. But here's the absolute kicker. The entire AI revolution is built on this foundation, and most of it is maintained by unpaid volunteers. And when you have that kind of financial pressure or lack of support, it can lead to moments of absolute crisis. And that's exactly what's captured in this really urgent warning from the guy who created a hugely popular project called Polyfill.io. So here's the story. This project basically provided code that helps old web browsers run modern websites. Super useful stuff. But the creator, a volunteer, he just couldn't afford to maintain it anymore. So the domain name got sold, and the new owners used its trusted position on over 100,000 websites to start injecting malware. This is what we're talking about. This is the fragile, often invisible infrastructure that this whole AI gold rush is actually built on. And as you can imagine, this whole situation has ignited a huge debate. It's really pushed the open source community to a crossroads. So on one side, you've got the traditional permissive licenses, the ones that let this innovation just explode. But on the other side, you're seeing this new wave of more restrictive licenses pop up. They're basically saying, hey, use my work for free, that's fine, but if you're a giant corporation making millions off of it, you need to pay up. It's really a fight for the soul and the sustainability of the digital world. Okay, so let's zoom way, way out now. We're moving from the individual developers to the massive Wall Street boomtown that sprung up around AI. And here, the scale of this gold rush isn't measured in millions, it's measured in trillions of dollars. I mean, the numbers are just mind-bending. Let's take NVIDIA, the company making all the essential chips for AI. Its market valuation has soared into the trillions. To even try and wrap your head around that, that's more than the entire gross domestic product of every country on Earth except for the US and China. Just wow. And the spending is just as wild. Get this. In a single 3-month period, Microsoft spent a staggering $35 billion, mostly on AI infrastructure. That's in just 3 months. So what's the result of all this? Well, in 2025, AI-related companies accounted for a whopping 80% of the gains in the American stock market. Think about that. The gains are all concentrated in one tiny corner of the market. It's just staggering. Naturally, this has analysts asking, well, wait a minute, what's really driving these insane numbers? And that's raised a lot of concern about a controversial practice known as circular financing. Here's a great example of how it works. A big company, say a chip maker like NVIDIA, invests $100 billion into an AI lab like OpenAI. But then that lab immediately turns around and uses a huge chunk of that investment to buy chips from the same company that just invested in them. See? The money just moves in a circle. It makes it look like both companies are seeing this massive organic growth, but really, they're just passing cash back and forth, pumping up their valuations in the process. And this right here just shows you the insane sophistication of the mining operations we're talking about at this top level. So while the individual prospectors are building those neat little email signature tools, the big institutions are building this. It's called trading agents. It's a multi-agent AI that's designed to act like an entire real-world trading firm. You've got a researcher AI that scans the market, a trader AI that suggests moves, and even a risk management AI that advises a final manager AI. It's basically a fully autonomous trading firm in a box. The complexity here is it's just on another planet.
Which of course brings us all the way back to that one big question. What is this? Are we looking at a legitimate economic boom? A massive speculative bubble that's just waiting to pop? Or is this just the very, very beginning of a whole new era?
Well, the arguments on both sides are actually pretty strong. On the one hand, the people screaming bubble are pointing to the totally extreme valuations, that whole circular financing thing, and even official warnings from places like the Bank of England. But then, on the other hand, the argument that this is all real is also super compelling. I mean, unlike the dot-com crash, these AI companies are generating massive, real profits. And all that investment money, it's driving tangible economic growth, like the construction of all these new data centers. Maybe the most level-headed take on all this comes from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. He says that, yeah, AI is absolutely going to pay off in the long run. But, and this is a huge but, he gives a critical warning. He says it's just like when cars were invented, or TVs. The technology as a whole pays off for society, but that doesn't mean most of the people and companies involved in building it got rich. In fact, most of them didn't. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that this AI gold rush isn't just one story. It's actually 3 different stories all happening at the same time. You've got the individual prospectors digging for gold on the digital frontier. Then you've got the people selling the shovels, the open source developers, and they're standing on some pretty shaky ground. And then way up top, you have this massive Wall Street boomtown being built on a mix of real profits and some seriously risky financial engineering. And the crazy part is, each layer depends on the others. A crack in one could potentially bring the whole thing crashing down. And that leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. With all this hype, all this hustle, and these incredibly high stakes, in this AI gold rush, are we actually building the future? Or are we just digging ourselves a really, really big hole?